I knew the emoji represented the colors of the Palestinian flag, but I didn't know the complicated history behind the symbol of the watermelon. Here's what I found out. In Gaza and the West Bank, the display of the Palestinian flag and other images of a political nature were prohibited because of a series of Israeli military orders, amendments, and later laws that were put in place between 1967 and 1993. I spoke to two professors who study Palestinian cultural expression. They both told me that during this time, visual art was an important way for Palestinians to express their identity, particularly when they couldn't display the flag, as it put them at risk of being arrested.
This is a really important opportunity because culture is being suppressed and culture is being denied and existence is being denied. So visual art becomes a major sort of space where this starts to happen.
In 1980, these three prominent Palestinian artists were arrested for displaying their work at an art gallery in Ramallah. According to the expert we spoke to, one of the artists asked an Israeli military police officer if he could paint flowers using the colors of the Palestinian flag. The officer reportedly replied, "No, it will be confiscated. You can't even paint a watermelon."
It is this story, this interaction that becomes the inspiration for the watermelon motifs.
Later on, the expert told us that another artist heard this story from them and wanted to make something out of it. So in 2007, Khalid Harani created a silkscreen print called Watermelon Flag. He said he was inspired by this story, and it would go on to be displayed around the world. But it wasn't until about 2021 that the watermelon symbol became widely used, especially on social media. At the time, controversial court rulings on whether to evict Palestinian families from the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah were happening. Some of the unrest resulted in Palestinians being arrested and their flags being confiscated.
We've seen a resurgence of the watermelon as a symbol for Palestinian expression in the last few years, particularly as we see in Israel the rise of right-wing politicians that are again seeking to ban expressions of Palestinian identity, including the flag.
In recent years, multiple attempts have been made to pass flag bans through Israel's legislative body, the Knesset, without much success. But in January of this year, Israel's far-right national security minister instructed police to remove Palestinian flags from public spaces. Palestinian flags were not completely banned, but soldiers and police have the right to remove them where they deem a threat to public order. I asked both NASA and Desai about how the watermelon, and specifically the emoji, is being used today.
If people are kind of afraid to put the flag or are afraid to put an image of anything related to Palestine, they're putting the watermelon instead.
We're seeing two things happening at once. One is a global rise of solidarity and support for the Palestinian people, but we're also seeing a global network of repression against those expressions. And so the watermelon slice becomes a way to navigate that very rough terrain.